Let's go, let's go, let's go. Good morning, seventh grade. All right, come on. I need to see what section is going to be my section. So over here on the left side, good morning, seventh grade. All right, that was cool. In the middle, good morning, seventh grade. There we go. Okay, I like it. On the right, good morning, seventh grade. All right, let's get it. All together. Good morning, seventh grade. Yeah, here we go. So check it out. As they said, I am Tavon Parker. You guys can call me TP. It does not stand for toilet paper. I'm born and raised in York, Pennsylvania, and obviously I'm here to talk to you guys about what I've dedicated my life to, changing the narrative. Right? And a lot of times we hear like narrative and people don't know exactly what it means, but what I learned is society puts us in this box, and it's our job to kind of break out that box and be who we were destined to be. So growing up, I was one of those kids where my parents got divorced when I was 6 years old. Right? So I'm 6 years old, my parents get divorced, and I was very confused and lost. But I had an older brother, right? I got 4 brothers. I grew up with one of them, and my older brother was 2 years older. He's 8. So I'm 6, he's 8, and all of a sudden, in the blink of an eye, he became my role model, right? Like my idol. I started looking up to my brother. And I'll never forget, because about a year after my parents got divorced, we live in the hood, right? So Persian and Maple, and it was a drive-by shooting, and the bullets came through our front window, and that's when my pops said we had to move. And I'll never forget, because it struck me to the core, because there was so many things that I used to experience and so many things I used to go through, but for some reason I never had anybody to talk to except my older brother. So like I said, he was my role model, he was my idol, and a lot of times me and him both played basketball. So if you go in York High and you look up in the rafters, you'll see Tavon Parker, 1,000-point scorer. But I learned scoring 1,000 points in high school don't really mean nothing as an adult. Right? Like I can't go to somebody and be like, yo, I'm a 1,000-point scorer, and they're like, okay, cool, here goes the job. Like it doesn't work like that. But what I did learn was every single thing that we go through, there's a reason that we go through it. And if we can learn from it, guess what? We can become better. If we don't learn from it, guess what? We're going to repeat it over and over and over again. So an example of this is when my brother ended up going to college, I had to start pushing myself, right? But I didn't know that the things that I was doing behind the scenes come to light. Like they say, what's done in the dark comes to light. So in middle school and high school, when I started smoking weed, I thought it was cool until I got to college, and all of a sudden I'm a basketball player and keep smoking. Right? Like in high school, my friends and I was drinking, but then you get to college and it's like, wait, you're supposed to be playing basketball. Like, you got to keep the important thing, and I didn't know that. Right? So life happens so fast, and I promise you, if you don't have a plan for your life, anything can happen. So I ended up going to college. I went to Millersville University, and me and my brother both got a scholarship to go to Millersville to play basketball, and within 2 semesters, I ended up losing my scholarship and coming back to York. Now some of you guys are probably thinking, well, why did you lose your scholarship? What they don't tell you in college is if your grades ain't good, they don't got to keep you. Right? Like in middle school and high school, your teacher let you turn in makeup work. If you miss a day or so you're good. In college, nobody's going to say nothing to you. They just come and say, hey, I need your scholarship back. And then you're sitting there staring at them like, well, now what? Well, now you can't stay here. Right? So I ended up coming back to this small city that we call York, because York's about 5 square miles. And instead of coming back to York when I was 14, I started a lawn care business. So instead of coming back to York and launching my lawn care business, or instead of transferring schools to keep playing basketball, I took a shortcut. I came back to York and started selling drugs. And I actually thought I was good at it because for about 3 years, the first house my wife and I got was like an efficiency, right? Like a 1-bedroom. We put like a little curtain up in the dining room, in the front room. We split in half, and one was our bedroom and one was the living room. And there was rats and roaches and stuff running around. And then we had a daughter, and I said, yeah, we can't bring our daughter here. So we got like a 2-bedroom house. And then my daughter turned 1, and we got a 3-bedroom house. And I'll never forget, because like I said, I thought I was doing good, but everybody knows what comes with the streets, right? Like it's a cliche. Everybody says, oh, death in jail, but like, no, that's real. Because I'll never forget, and this is one thing I always tell people when I talk to them, it's our job to remember what we go through so we don't got to keep going through it. Right? And I'm really big on dates, because it was Valentine's Day of 2016, and my girlfriend and I were supposed to be going out to eat, and instead of us going out to eat, I had to catch one more cell, right? I had to meet one more person. And what really pisses me off was it was an eighth, $40. And I went and caught the eighth cell, and as soon as I sold the weed, guess what? The cops got behind me. And I'll never forget, because I was already on probation, and I knew I was going to jail, because I had a 1/4 pound of weed in my back seat, and I had a gun on my lap. And my man was sitting next to me, and I threw him the gun and was like, yo, we out. And I start driving, and he throws the gun back and was like, nah, chill, we good. And that 1 second of indecision, that 1 second of freezing, the cops got behind us, whoop, whoop, and they pulled us over. And I instantly pick up my phone and I call my girlfriend because I already know I'm going to jail. I'm on probation, I have a gun and I have weed. And she was able to get to that site in less than 5 minutes. And I always remember because by the time they got me out the car and they had me handcuffed, I looked out the window and the only person I seen sitting there crying was my girlfriend. I mean, you say that, but that's real, right? Because like this thing called jail is not like the stuff you see in the movies where everything is fun. Like I have to fill out paperwork in order for somebody to put money on my books. I gotta fill out paperwork in order for me to see the person that I say I love. I can't even see my daughter. So you say, oh, and it's funny, but I want you to really think about it. Because you get 20-minute phone calls when you're in jail, and for 19 minutes and 36 seconds, my girlfriend and I just cried. The first time she could come visit, it's 3-inch glass, and we're sitting in front of each other, and I got this jumpsuit on, and we're sitting there crying. Because we never even fathomed that I'll be sitting here in jail. Right? So I love coming to places and talking because there's always a cool kid, and I can tell you exactly where the cool kids end up. Because when I walked in jail, guess who I seen? The kids I was smoking with when I was in high school, the kids that was drinking, the kids that didn't go to class and was skipping class, the cool kids and the funny kids. So if you want to be a cool kid, great. 10 years, let's see where you are. At some point in your life, you have to focus and realize exactly what you're trying to get out of this thing we call life. Because I promise you, coming from where I come from and looking like I look, nobody's handing you nothing. So I ended up going to jail, and I ended up doing 14 months. And I know 14 months doesn't sound like a lot, but I want you guys to really think about what happens in 14 months. That's a year, right? A year and 2 months. So during 14 months, I missed my daughter's birthday. I missed my birthday, my wife's birthday. I missed Christmas, Thanksgiving. And I learned, like, there's stuff that comes and there's stuff that goes, but then there's stuff that don't come and go, right? Like my girlfriend graduated from college, and the pictures was great, but guess who wasn't there? Like my grandparents got remarried for their 50th anniversary, and the pictures was great, but guess who wasn't there? So while I was sitting in jail, I got to the point where I said, how selfish can I be? My daughter didn't ask to be here, and my girlfriend didn't ask to come visit somebody every week. But here I am sitting in jail, and the only person I can talk to, the only person that I can hold accountable is me. So I really need you guys to get this concept of your success or your failure isn't on anybody in one of these cool blue hoodies, and it's not on me. It's on you. I need to hear you guys say that. Let me hear you guys say it's on me. It's on me. So your success, your failure, your future, it's on you. And I ended up getting out of jail, and my whole thought process was different, right? There's a word for it, it's called your paradigm. How you view stuff, your perspective. So because my paradigm was different, I knew I didn't want to go back to jail. Here's a secret, I don't know if anybody ever told you, the easiest way to stay out of jail is to not do anything illegal. So I said, okay, I'm not going to sell drugs. So the lawn care business that I had, I relaunched it. But my goal was to be a millionaire, and my lawn care business does about $100,000, so I still had a gap I had to figure out. And I never forget because I was grinding, but like I said, this thing called life happens, and I got out of jail and I changed my whole perspective and I thought everything was great. And 2 years later, after I got out of jail, right, because again, dates are important. February 14, 2016, I went to jail. April 30th of 2017, I got out. 2 years later, after I got out of jail, it was February 26th of 2020, my brother got shot and killed. So now the two things that come with the streets, I personally had to experience. And I'm sitting there stuck. I'm sitting there confused, and I'm sitting there trying to figure out why is it that I have to go through this. And it wasn't until I did a deep dive and I've had a conversation with God that I realized sometimes people have to go through stuff just so you don't. Like they say, a wise person learns from their mistakes, but a wiser person learns from the mistakes of others. And the worst thing I could ever want for any of you guys is to have to go to college, lose your scholarship, go to jail, lose your girlfriend, lose your kid, go to jail, and then get out, change your life, and lose a family member. Like that's not how this thing called life is supposed to be. It's not set up like that. But again, if you don't got no plan, what happens? Right? So when my brother got shot and killed, that's when I really had to do a deep dive and I really had to figure out what exactly is my purpose here on earth. And that's when I started the Advantage program, which is a nonprofit. We mentor young men 7 to 17. And my only goal in life is to show these young men and these young ladies in this world, I promise you, it's a big world. Right? And sometimes we can't see it because like this, I want everybody to do me a favor. Put your hand right in front of your face when you're touching your nose. Do you see how hard it is to see to the sides when something's blocking you? It's called perspective. Right? But as you start moving your hand out, guess what starts happening? The things on the side, your peripherals start opening up. And a long time ago, I learned and I realized that, believe it or not, growing up here in the United States, we're spoiled rotten. Like my wife, she came from Jamaica. I promise you, the stuff over in Jamaica is not like it is here. Right? But we take advantage of this stuff here because we think we're supposed to have it or somebody's supposed to do this for us, and that's just not the reality. So after I started the Advantage program, and we have like 60 young men, everything is going great. But again, my biggest thing is, how can I make sure that you guys don't go through what I went through? How can I make sure that the goals and the aspirations that you guys have, you guys can actually see come to fruition? Because there's nothing worse than a person who has goals, who has dreams for their lives, but they have nobody else to help them get there. Right? So I've learned everybody has what we call support, like a helper. Sometimes we don't even know who our support is, but these teachers and these administrators, I know sometimes they might annoy you, but believe it or not, they're actually here to help you. Like I remember when I was in 6th grade, and there was a kid in my class, and he used to always talk about how the teacher used to pick on him, and the teacher was always on him. And he went from my school district, he moved to another school district, and the teachers were still picking on him. Then he moved to another school district, and the teachers were still picking on him. And it got to the point where I said to him, well, Dad, why are all these teachers picking on you? Maybe it is you. But again, once his perspective changed, and he said, okay, what can I do differently? Guess what? His results and his outcome and his life started changing. So I always like telling this story because, again, I've come to the realization that life is about perspective, right? Like, my biggest thing that I always say to kids is, I don't need you guys to be perfect. I don't need you guys to be angels. I just need you guys to not be part of the problem, right? Like, I'm on TikTok, I'm on Instagram, I'm on social media, and I'm team follow back. So I come to speak and people follow me. When I follow them back, I'm like, yo, you told me that you wanted to be in the NFL and the NBA, but all your videos on Instagram is you smoking in the bathroom. Right? Like you said you want to be a doctor, a teacher, or a lawyer, but everything I see is you twerking. Like everything I see, and y'all laughing, but people be doing it. Vaping, dancing, doing stuff they know they're not supposed to do, and all I ever ask is, the stuff that you tell me matches the stuff that I don't see. Right? Because again, what's done in the dark comes to light. And I didn't think anybody knew in middle school, but when I got to college, guess what? Like, I don't want you guys to set yourself up into thinking that you can skate below the radar and then you're going to, all of a sudden, magically, boom, accomplish stuff. That's a lie. Right? That's cap. The way this world is set up, you only get out of it what you work for. So I'll leave you guys with this story. And this is one of my favorite stories because, again, this whole thing called life is about perspective. How you view something will dictate how you do something. Right? So the story's about 2 older guys, and all of you guys are young, so I'm pretty sure none of you guys are in a nursing home, but the way a nursing home is set up is like a hospital. Right? It's like you walk in the door, there's one bed, then there's like a sheet, and then there's another bed, and then there's usually a window. So there was 2 old guys, and the one old guy that was by the door, he couldn't really move, so he'd always ask the guy by the window to look out there and tell him what he's seen. So my man would always look out there, and he's like, oh man, I see a dog chasing their tail. I see kids out there playing the piano. I see somebody proposing to their fiance. Like, he always paints a beautiful picture, right? And one day my man by the window ended up dying. And like, that's not the point of the story because we all have a day. But when he died, my man by the door started asking the nurse every day, hey nurse, you think you can move me over there? Like, nurse, I want to see out the window. I want to see what my friend was seeing. Do you think you can move me over there? And after about a week of asking, the nurse finally obliged him. And she was like, you know what, I'm going to move you. And she moved my man over by the window. And as soon as he got over there, he ripped the curtain open, and all he sees is a brick wall outside. And he's like, hold on, nurse, before you leave, can you call somebody to come knock that brick wall down so I can see all the stuff that my man was telling me about? And the nurse looked at him and was like, you tripping, huh? Who's supposed to do this wall? I'm a nurse. And my man was serious. He started getting mad, and she said to him, you didn't know. And I'll never forget because my man started getting mad. Like, I didn't know what. What are you talking? I just want to see. And she's like, you really didn't know. After all the time y'all spent together in this room, all the talking you guys did, you didn't know. And my man said, I didn't know what? And she said, you didn't know that your friend that was by that window was born blind. He couldn't see out the window even if he wanted to. Everything he said he seen was for you. He tried to make your day better. And by making your day better, he tried to make your life better. When I come to these schools and I talk to you guys, the goal isn't, again, for you to be an angel, for you to be perfect. My only goal is to figure out how you guys can use your life to make somebody else's better. And sometimes it's as simple as making somebody smile. Sometimes it's as simple as holding the door for somebody. But I love to come and talk because, trust me, I understand how hard it is to be a kid. right? Like when you're your age, people don't listen because they don't think you know. When you're your age, people don't get it. But I realized just how hard it is to have a positive mindset when you're around negative people, right? Because like when I was in school, people used to make fun of me, right? Like one kid told me I'm 11:59, because I ain't dark enough to be midnight. Like when he looks under his bed, I see TP. When we play hide and seek in the dark, TP's always going to win. Like kids used to be mean, right? They like talking about each other. But then what I started learning how to do was to take the negative, turn it into something positive to fuel myself, right? Like it's called a mindset, a growth mindset or a stagnated mindset. Because again, in this thing called life, nobody's going to give you anything. Nobody is going to ever give you anything. So this is what I need you guys to do. I need everybody on their feet. I need everybody on their feet. We're going to take it out. We're going to take it out like this. I need everybody on their feet. Man, every assembly this happens. Feet don't talk. All right, so check this out. The first thing we're going to say, these are called affirmations. Affirmations are things you say so that you can start getting it into your head, internalize it, and then your reality be different, right? Because before you can see it in reality, you have to see it in your head. So the first thing I need my right side to say, I can. Middle, I can. Left side, I can. All right, let's get it all together. I can. I can what though? I can be successful. I can do whatever I put my mind to. I can be a great student. I can. The second one, middle, I must. Left side, I must. Right side, I must. Let's get it all together. I must. I must what? I must set the standard. Right? I must be a great kid. I must be successful. It's not an option. And the last one, left side, I will. Right side, I will. Middle, I will. I will make sure that I'm a great kid, right? I will make sure that Lincoln Middle School is the best middle school in Lancaster. I will make sure that my family is successful, right? I will make sure I set that bar. Because again, I can is a thought, I must is an action, and I will is the confirmation. Hey guys, my name is Tavon Parker, and I thank you guys all for your time.